You know, chums, if you are the Prince of Wales, His Royal Highness Prince William, you would suggest how difficult it's actually been for him and his wife, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, over the last few years.
There is a man whose name has been appearing in royal coverage with increasing frequency over the past several months. Theo Reichfra, a senior aide close to the king, positioned in several reports as the person tasked with the impossible job of helping to repair what has broken between Harry and William. The Daily Mail has covered him. The headlines have suggested he is the answer, the man who will knot the heads together, the senior figure who has the king's confidence and the access to make something happen. What those headlines have not told you is this. According to sources familiar with the situation inside the palace, the problem Theo Reichfra faces is not Harry. Harry is not the obstacle. Harry wants the relationship fixed. Harry is the one who showed up at Highgrove. The problem is the person who arrived with him. And nobody in the royal household, by every credible account I have from people close to this situation, is willing to extend the kind of trust that reconciliation requires to Meghan Markle. That is the wall that no senior aide, however skilled, however well-intentioned, however close to the king, has the ability to dismantle. Who Theo Reichfra is, and what he was supposed to do. Let's be precise about what is actually being reported here, because precision matters. Theo Reichfra is a senior figure in the king's household, well-connected, apparently trusted, and by the accounts of those who have observed him operating in that environment, someone who understands both how the institution works and how to navigate the more personal dimensions of royal family dynamics. The story that emerged, and we should note that the palace could not verify where those quotes in the original reporting came from, which is itself significant, was that Reichfra had taken on or been given some form of mandate related to the fractured relationship between the two princes. There are two reasons that story generated the attention it did. First, it is a genuinely interesting idea. A senior aide working quietly behind the scenes to create the conditions for reconciliation. Second, the king's known desire to see his sons find some form of peace before he runs out of time to wish for it has made this kind of story emotionally resonant. But here is what the coverage has consistently underweighted. The king wanting reconciliation and William being willing to participate in it are not the same thing. And right now, those two positions are not aligned. The real obstacle, stated plainly. William did not attend Highgrove. He had the option. He was aware of what was happening. He chose polo. That is not a scheduling conflict. That is a statement. His position on Harry, whatever personal warmth might remain for a brother he grew up with, a brother who has been through genuine shared grief and shared history, is complicated by the figure who has been at Harry's side through every public development of the past 6 years. William's view of Meghan Markle, from what I understand from sources who know his thinking, is not ambiguous. It is not a matter of needing more time or more information. It is a settled assessment arrived at through years of watching, of absorbing, of calculating the cost of what has happened and who drove it. Nobody inside the royal family trusts Meghan in the way that functioning relationships require trust. That is not said with relish. It is said as a description of where things actually are. Every private conversation, every family moment, every quiet exchange is being evaluated through the lens of what might eventually surface in a book, a documentary, a podcast, or a carefully placed interview. Theo Reichfra cannot fix that. No aide can fix that. The only thing that can move that assessment is a sustained cons. Instant, visible change in behavior over a significant period of time. And this week, while keeping a relatively low profile since returning to the United States, Meghan's team were apparently letting the world know about an Emmy Awards nomination, the details of which were, to put it charitably, not entirely straightforward. William is told about these things. He notices. The pattern. Why William sees it so clearly. Here is what William understands about his brother that Harry perhaps does not fully see himself. He knows Harry's weaknesses the way siblings always do. From years of growing up together, of watching him operate, of seeing where the pressure points are and how they manifest. He has watched Harry be led. Not because Harry is unintelligent, but because Harry has always needed a framework, a structure, a direction, a sense of purpose that comes from somewhere outside himself. The army provided that for years. The royal family, with all its demands and constraints, provided it. When both of those were gone, something else stepped in to fill the space. William sees that clearly. He is not angry about it in a simple way. He has processed it. He has arrived at a settled view. He is also someone who, by contrast, has built something genuinely stable, The Middleton connection, the warmth, the functional normality of that family, has given him a foundation that his brother never found in the same way. 3 children, a wife who has navigated serious illness and returned to public life with grace and purpose, a working relationship with an institution he is preparing to lead. Harry, at 40, is doing a podcast where the most discussed element is something he said about his morning routine. That is not a cruel observation. It is an honest one, and it captures the distance between where the 2 brothers currently are, the Emmy situation, and why it matters to William. The Emmy nomination story is worth a brief moment because it illustrates the pattern that makes the palace so wary. The nomination itself, for what exactly and in what category and through what mechanism, was not entirely clear from the reporting. The framing around it suggested something more straightforward than the details supported. William was informed, he noticed, he filed it. This is how his calculation works, not through dramatic reactions or public statements, through observation, through the accumulation of evidence about whether the people he is being asked to trust are operating in good faith or are still managing their own narrative at the expense of shared understanding. Each small incident like this adds to a ledger, and the ledger right now is not in a position that makes the kind of trust reconciliation requires easy to extend. The king's wish and its limits. Here is the genuinely sad dimension of all of this. The king would like his sons to make peace. This is not a political position or a strategic calculation. It is the wish of a father who is seriously ill, who has limited time, and who would like to see the 2 people he raised together find their way back to some version of the relationship they once had. That wish is real. It shapes how Charles approaches this. The door kept open, the intermediaries used, the private gestures made in the hope that they will be received in the spirit intended. But a king's wish is not the same as an institutional directive. William is not going to reconcile with his brother because his father would like him to. He is going to make his own assessment of when, if ever, the conditions are in place that make that reconciliation something other than a risk to everything he is protecting. Theo Reichfra, operating in the space between those 2 positions, faces a task that no aide should be expected to carry alone. He is, to his credit, apparently trying. The stories Town have emerged, however they found their way into print, suggest someone working earnestly on a genuinely difficult brief, but the brief assumes that the obstacle is communication or opportunity, that if the right conversation could be arranged, the right room prepared, the right moment created, something would shift. What it misses is that the obstacle is not circumstantial, it is fundamental, and it sits unmoved in California. A fixer who cannot fix the fundamental problem. A king whose wish runs up against his heir's settled assessment. And 2 brothers thousands of miles apart still managing to generate friction inside palace walls without being anywhere near them. That is where we are. Whether Theo Reichfra finds a way through this, whether anyone does, remains genuinely uncertain. What is not uncertain is that William's position has not shifted, and the Emmy story did not help. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think there is any aide or intermediary who could actually move this? Or is this now between Harry and William alone? Like this video if it gave you the full picture. Subscribe to stay with the story. Take care. See you very soon.